Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. The reaction we're watching today is the US Army's universal camouflage, a terrible mistake. I don't know how you can get camouflage so wrong. And I don't know, I guess it's just judged because every army has a different kind of, it's like, they're all kind of similar, but they're all like in their own sort of, they're just styled a bit differently. Like the England or the UK, Russia, have all got different like camouflage sort of styles, and I think colours here and there as well. But I don't know how you can get camouflage so wrong. I look at it and it all looks the same to me. So I mean, we're gonna see here, and I guess learn about this whole thing. But hopefully, going to enjoy. Links are in the description to my Patreon if you want to see some more reactions of mine, or you want to suggest some videos for me to see, or just suggest me some videos you want me to react to in future on YouTube, just in the comment section. But let's just jump into this and see how such a big mistake could be made from something like this.
This is good camouflage. This is bad camouflage.
Okay, so I mean, wait, let me just turn the sound off a bit. Some videos are so much quieter. So the good one's the lighter one. I would have thought it was the other way around.
This is bad camouflage.
I guess maybe this would be better in different terrains. How could it be seen so much worse? Because the world's maybe greener than I'm thinking, and this is a lot greener, a lot brighter, I guess.
This is good camouflage. This is bad camouflage. This is great camouflage. What's that? You don't see anything? Exactly. From 2002 to 2004, the US military invested $5 billion in over a decade of research developing this camouflage pattern, and the design, aptly named Universal Camouflage Pattern, quickly became iconic. Anyone who sees it can instantly recognize it as US Army camouflage, which is, well, kind of the problem, because it turns out that UCP should have stood for useless crappy pattern, because while it looks great on hats and pants and this actual Amazon listing for desert child soldiers, it wasn't particularly great at, you know, hiding the adult soldiers from the people who wanted to kill them. According to one army specialist, this camouflage pattern was a quote universal uniform that universally failed in every environment, like the United Nations peacekeepers in any international crisis. Which raises two questions. How did we end up with such an ineffective design, and why exactly doesn't it work? For decades, all military personnel had used the standard battle dress uniform, which looks like this. It worked fine and seemed to do the job, but when Y2K hit, so did the peak of art-inspired military design that had been crescendoing for decades. As early as World War II, military designers had been experimenting with optical illusions like cubism to trick their enemies' eyes more better. The first pixelated or square-based pattern used in camouflage was dual text, which used individual squares rather than blotches of colors that could each blend into the environment at close range, known as the suit's micro pattern, while also making up a larger pattern that could blend into the background for longer distances, or the suit's macro pattern. In the late 1990s, a military officer named Timothy O'Neill, who some call the grandfather of modern camo and others call Tim, developed camouflage on his computer using pixels. It turns out that pixel-based designs act as white noise to the brain. Basically, because pixel camouflage looks less like nature, the brain becomes less fixated on it and thus ignores it as part of the background. So when soldiers are wearing the camouflage...
How do you become an expert in this kind of stuff? That's crazy to me. Like, you just know this sort of stuff, and it obviously works to a degree because these are like the top levels or the top armies and stuff. But how can you even like just know this will be the case? I guess maybe it's a lot of trial and error with this kind of stuff.
They're more likely to blend in precisely because their camouflage stands out in the natural environment like a normal person walking through a New York City subway station. After O'Neill's development, a lot of military branches started to take notice. As with most military strategies, the Marines were first in, last out. In 2000, they wanted to duplicate this Canadian camouflage design known as CADPAT because of its trendy pixelation and striped lapels. But those greedy Canadians had copyrighted the pattern, so the Marine leaders had to make their own different...
Wait, they've copyrighted the pattern? Is that a thing? If you copy the pattern, you're gonna get a big ass fine. Wait, I didn't realize copywriting would be a thing with camouflages and stuff, but I guess it does make sense because you want your own army to have your own sort of identity or whatever. But especially if you're allies, it wouldn't really matter but I guess I'm wrong. I don't know. Copywriting the pattern, goddamn.
Enough version that wouldn't get them sued. After making a trip to Home Depot to look for paint swatches, that's not a joke, military officials actually went to Home Depot, they landed on Ralph Lauren's Coyote Brown, presumably in commemoration of the skin tone of the people they hoped to bomb. Coyote Brown became the centerpiece of two color palettes, one for forests and one for deserts, the overarching design coined Marpat for marine pattern camouflage. The thing is, this pattern, with 4 distinct colors that made up its camouflage pattern, worked. Marpat had undergone a plethora of different prototypes, testing, and development to to make sure that its pixelation actually did its job in a variety of environments before it was printed on thousands of uniforms. It even became a standard part of the Marine Corps combat utility uniform that's still in use today, along with rainbow toe socks. Meanwhile, the Army needed a new camouflage design because they didn't have matching camouflage sets at the time, so soldiers were basically walking targets on the battlefield, which sucks when you're trying to avoid getting killed by people trying to kill you. The Army wanted something like the Marines' great Marpat pattern, but because the Marines didn't want the Army stealing their hard-earned survival rates, the Marines had copyrighted their camouflage, and instead of just paying the Marines to use it, the Army decided to take some creative liberties with their own knockoff design known as the Universal Camouflage Pattern. But like any knockoff, Dr. Wow, Prongles, or Ratatouille, it didn't work quite as well as the original.
I know this isn't what the video is about, but Prangles? I have never heard of Prangles in my life.
Quite as well as the original. During the process, own knockoff design known as the Universal Camouflage Pattern. But like any knockoff, Dr. Wow, Prongles, or Ratatouille,
Dr. Wow, which is for Dr. Pepper, Ratatouille, which is for, I guess, Ratatouille, and Prongles. What? I have never seen these. I guess these are all in the US, but I've never seen these sorts of versions in the UK.
It didn't work quite as well as the original. During the process, they made the decision to eliminate any blacks and browns from the design, arguing that these colors didn't exist in combat environments, and opted for Desert Tan 500 as the camouflage's central color. While Desert Tan 500 is really good at sounding cool as hell, it turns out it was really bad at camouflaging soldiers, especially compared to the Marine patented Coyote Brown, which had been the key to making Marpat so effective. Plus, the Army's overpaid consultants forgot to consider how shadows would factor into the pattern's design, and to top it off, they didn't test the design before slapping it on thousands of spongy 19-year-olds and shipping them to the desert to pay for college. The pattern, named Urban Track, was composed of tan, gray, and sage green, and soon after it was approved in 2004, soldiers started to notice its flaws. Its macro pattern, or the collective camouflage effect of the whole uniform, didn't work. The pixels made up distinct blobs of color meant to disguise them, but the problem was, these blobs were actually too small and created an effect known as isoluminance, which means the entire uniform appeared as a visible tan mass rather than a blitz of colors difficult to separate from each other. This effect made the camouflage appear flat in a three-dimensional environment, so from nearly any distance, the camouflage failed to do its job. Given how exposed the pattern made troops in the Middle East, with its high levels of sand and similarly high levels of people trying to kill soldiers, Army officials had to go ask Mom to borrow her uniforms, in this case, Mom being the Marines. So the Army had to start a new search for a pixelated camouflage pattern from scratch by 2010, and the UCP design was soon phased out for literally any other alternative. Since then, congressional members have been pushing the Department of Defense to adopt one camouflage set for all military branches, which would theoretically have the triple effect of saving government money, not getting soldiers killed unnecessarily, and
I mean, it would make sense. Oh, that was a good way to pause. It would make sense, though. I mean, I don't know why you would not be allowed, because you're all from the same country, so why wouldn't you just wear the same uniform?
Rising camouflage bikinis across all spring breaks. And if you'd like to learn more about what it...
Damn, I literally paused it at that point. I'm not going to complain, but... Yeah, this is wild to me. I'd be copywriting in camouflage designs. That's the first. I mean, I wouldn't have imagined that was a thing, but I guess any way to get your money, you know? We've actually made really good camouflage. We just can't find where we left the designs. I'm slow, but I clocked what he meant. Oh, you idiot. Yeah, you've got the designs. They're just so hard to find. You just can't clock where they've been put. Probably just as bad as the US Navy's blue camouflage uniform, which worked great at making a sailor that fell overboard blend very well into the ocean. What? God damn. There's some funny things, man. This channel single-handedly keeps the stock footage industry and business for real, man. But yeah, interesting little watch. I mean, I don't know if anyone's going to care about this, but I thought it was quite just a bit of fun to watch. I mean, it's not that deep, but it's just a little fun little topic. But I say fun, just an interesting topic. I mean, again, I would have never thought this would even be a problem in the world, copywriting this kind of stuff. Camouflage, I mean, I just thought camouflage was just a universal thing. It wasn't really, there wasn't a science behind it, but I guess it does make sense. And when you're at that level and you need that level of protection, every little thing helps. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction. If you want more of this stuff, let me know in the comments. And until next time, like, subscribe, and peace.